Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Breaking Indie podcast. This is a podcast where we talk to filmmakers, people both behind and in front of the camera at all levels of the industry. Basically, if you have lessons that have been learned, we want to share them. So today we are going to be talking with the creators and the cast of What Tomorrow Brings. Not gonna lie, I did not know going into this that it was a family affair. So the first half of the interviews will be with two of our young stars, Phoebe and Zoey Engelbert, who star in the film. And actually, Zoey won Best Actress at the Santa Fe Film Festival for her role in this. And then in the second half, we're going to be talking to her father, who is the director, the writer, the creator, Matthew Engelbert, and his son, Elijah, who joins us, who's also the sound designer. He did all the on-set recording and as well as the music. So we have a really cool, very unique interview coming up. And for those of us who are watching on YouTube, first of all, please subscribe. We're put a lot of work into the video element of this, and we really do need your support. We need like 1,000 followers in the next year before we can monetize this. And we want to keep it going. So whether you're watching on YouTube at the Breaking Indie or whatever, Spotify, Apple Music, please subscribe because it really does help us out. Also, you'll notice I got a haircut because some time has passed since our last interview. And with me will not be Cole Finney, my co-host, because though I love him, he could not join us. So you're stuck with me, Brenden Roberts, for this interview with the creators of the film What Tomorrow Brings. And it's a pretty great interview. Not only do we talk about the family dynamics of what it's like to create a film under one household for the most part, but also what it took to create not only one, but two syndicated reality shows. And Matt will share his wisdom with us. And I think there's a lot that you'll enjoy from this episode. So stay tuned and welcome to the Breaking Indie podcast. Hey guys, what's up? Here we are, another beautiful interview on Breaking Indie. And guess what? We're at the Santa Fe Film Festival. Today we're going to be talking with some cast members from the film What Tomorrow Brings. So I have two of the awesome actresses with us tonight, Miss Zoey and Miss Phoebe. Hi guys, welcome to the podcast, Breaking Indie. Hi.
Thank you. Hi. For having us.
Yeah, well, the fun thing about this is we get to talk a little bit about the filmmaking process, about the acting process, and about your process. Obviously you're pretty young in your career, correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, no, it's really exciting to have you guys here, and congratulations, obviously, on this big night. That's pretty exciting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. So I guess I'll start with you, Zoey. If you could tell me a little bit about how you got involved with the film. Like, where did you what's your background, and how did you kind of get into this?
So I started with theater, and then I got noticed by my voice teacher, and she was like, "You have to meet this this agent." And so I was with this agent, and that's how I kind of started my career. And that's how, and the film industry kind of got very slow, and that's when we decided to start thinking outside the box, and that's how we came up with this film.
Cool. And where are you from?
Ann Arbor, Michigan, but we just moved to Florida.
Oh, okay. A little bit of a change in pace there, change in weather. Do you like it?
Yeah, it's nice.
Awesome, cool. And do you have an agent still? Where's your agent based?
So I no longer have an agent, but I do have a manager.
Okay, cool. Excellent.
Yeah.
And how about you, Phoebe? Where are you from?
Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Are you guys sisters?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. How awesome is that?
Yeah.
I guess I can cut half of these questions in half. And then how did you get involved? Is it kind of similar?
Well, right after she got an agent, her agent texted my dad and said, a couple weeks after, and said, "I understand that she has a little sister." So then we flew out to New York, I auditioned, and I got signed. And same thing, I don't have that agent, but I have the same manager as her.
So you guys fired your agent on the same day? Oh, the pain. Cool, that's awesome. And then how did this tell me about this film project. Do you guys play sisters in the film?
Yes.
Oh, that's cool. Which one plays the older one?
Me, obviously.
No, I think it's me.
Yeah.
It's debatable. It's debatable. They never decided.
No.
All right. Cool. Well, tell me about the project. Who do you guys play? What are your characters?
Well, I play Ruby and she plays Clara.
Yes.
All right. All right. And what is happening like with these girls? Like, what's the struggle? What's the dynamic? What's going on?
How do we? I don't want to give too much away, but it's a sister taking care of her sister and holding a secret. And you won't find out the secret until the end of the film.
Oh, okay. And does this film at all like parallel your real lives? Did you feel?
No.
Not in the...
Maybe
but
like in
not
a
really.
sisterly way.
Yeah.
Okay.
But not necessarily the plot.
Yeah.
So what was that process like for you as you guys were sisters, you know, living in the same home, working on the same project? Did you find time to like rehearse together?
Yeah.
Like, can you describe what that's like? I've never done a film with a sibling before. That's pretty cool.
Well, all I had to do was just walk 5 feet down the hall, and then whenever I needed someone to go over my lines with me, I could just go over there.
I did the same with her. I would memorize my lines. I would be like, Phoebe, make sure I get every line correct.
Now, do you guys do this with like homework? Do you help each other study ever?
Well, we're both homeschooled. Well,
I
she
graduated,
graduated,
so-
but I'm homeschooled, so
We didn't have much homework.
All
No,
of
it
my
didn't really
school was
overlap
homework.
the same.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And then how much time did you guys have to like prepare for this project?
Well, I mean, after my dad wrote the script, he kind of just like gave us our binder with the script in it, and we'd go over it at like the dinner table, and then he would have us correct lines if they sounded like they wouldn't come from someone our age. So then we would go over it and correct
As
it.
decided by your dad, not you.
Well,
No, we decided.
You decided that. You're like, you're out of touch. This
Because
is
like
like
when
what
we
we
were,
talk about.
I was like reading the script. I remember he just started reading it. I was like, I would never say something
Sure.
like this, and so I would change it into how I would say it, and then that's kind of how we got some writing credit.
Cool. Oh, okay, cool. So yeah, with kind of like the rewrites and stuff.
Yeah.
And then after the script was fully done, then he asked some of our actually like friends to play some of the roles, like audition for them.
Cool. And then, so what is the process like taking notes from your dad? Is that comfortable, I guess?
He didn't honestly give us that many notes. He gave us a lot of freedom with our role, and I like that a lot. I felt like it got me to really connect with my character, and yeah, that's
Awesome, awesome. And is this your guys' first time working like on camera?
yeah.
Yeah? Cool. So what was that process like?
Kind of. I did some stuff on my siblings' shows when I was younger, but
Okay.
this is a bit
The only
different.
thing on camera was Baby Elsa.
Oh yeah.
19 million views when I was 2. So.
No way, wow. All right. You're famous from when you were born, basically. All right. Well, what did it feel like? Were you nervous? Like, were there any adjustments that you had to make to like kind of make it feel more natural?
Well, he kind of based the characters off of us, just with a different plot. So like, it wasn't that uncomfortable to do. It was actually pretty nice because everyone on the set was basically family or friends.
Okay.
I don't think we hired anyone that we didn't know except for a couple people in the tech part. But
Cool. Awesome. Are there any other projects in the future coming your guys' way?
Yes.
Yeah? Are you allowed to talk about it?
I don't know.
Not sure?
I'm like looking at my dad. I'm like, I don't know.
Another collaboration with Dad? Awesome, cool. Do you guys play sisters again? We don't know.
On this next film.
Okay.
That's all I can say though.
Yeah. All right, awesome. And then do you aspire to keep your career pursuing in the film world, or are you trying to go to school for other stuff? Like, what does your futures look like as you write them?
I want to be an actor and
Yeah.
a singer too. But
Well, you
acting
already
is my
are.
main-
You just want to keep doing it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
my biggest passion.
Awesome. How about you, Phoebe?
I still want to do acting and be a musician.
Yeah? Do you play music? What do you play?
Piano, drums, and ukulele, and I
Oh,
sing.
man. All right. Got the Von Trapp family singers over here. All right, Dad, you're going to have to write a musical next, it sounds like. Well, that's so cool. Awesome. Well, is there anything that you guys want to, like, address, say, announce, or just, you have the spotlight. It's yours if you want it.
Come see what tomorrow brings.
All right, there you go. Well, the film is What Tomorrow Brings. We have the actors. We also have, coming up, some, spoiler, Dad is involved, and some of the other crew. So stick around, you guys. Thanks for this quick little interview on Breaking Indie, and stick around. There will be more. Thanks, guys. It's a program for filmmakers by filmmakers. It's the Breaking Indie podcast. So hey guys, welcome to the podcast. I just had a wonderful time talking to your daughters, and apparently your sisters.
Absolutely.
It's a whole family affair. I love this. Awesome. So we are back. We have Matt, the father, the filmmaker, the writer, and Eli, the son, the sound technician on this. Am I not mistaken?
Yeah, soundtrack, mixing, all that.
All things audio.
Everything audio.
And so you guys are all like a musical family, it sounds like, too, right?
Definitely.
So do you make music?
Yeah, that's what I do full time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm a music producer. I've been producing for over 10 years. I've been making music since I was a little kid. But yeah, I make beats. I do film score.
Awesome.
Vocalize, all that stuff. Yeah.
Cool. How much time did you spend in like the post process mixing and making music for this?
Well, it was interesting because I also did all the sound for the movie. So we started filming in about October 2023, and then throughout that whole process, I was working on mixing and getting the soundtrack in place. And
That's
then
great.
Probably like 8 months or so.
What's nice about that too is you have no one else to blame. I don't know if that's actually nice. That's probably the worst part. You're like, oh man, who recorded this? Oh wait, I did.
He had a lot of pressure with that because we're not working in a typical setting,
We're
right?
filming outdoors a lot too, and we only have one boom. Like we weren't working with labs or anything, so it was one boom for everything. So I had to make sure I'm not getting in front of the
Just
camera.
didn't trust
Tricky.
the labs, but next time.
Next time, I think labs are the move for sure. But
I mean, they help. There's also a lot more things can go wrong that way.
Yeah.
And for those at home, I don't have a crew. I'm here today, cold bounced. I usually have a right-hand man here doing interviews with me. We got no crew. All these mics, all the cameras, the boom, it's all left unmanned. It's pretty embarrassing.
We can vouch for you.
Yeah. All right, so Matt, I want to know about the origins of how this film came to be. I'd like to know, before we get there, a little bit more about how film came to be for you just in general. Like, where did that passion come from? Have you done film projects in the past?
You know, I had not done film projects. We had, Eli and his two older sisters had two nationally syndicated television shows. One was called Ariel and Zoey and Eli Zoo, and the other was called Steal the Show. And I was very green with those shows, and I surrounded myself with a tremendous team. And it was really during the third season of the Ariel and Zoey and Eli 2 where I really started to develop a passion for the camera and a fascination with it. And circumstances would happen where I lost my main camera guy, and I wish I hadn't, but I hadn't. And so I talked to my primary editor, and I said, "Hey, you know what? I want to try it." And it was rough at the beginning,
Sure.
right? And but sort of found my footing with that. And so I found a passion for capturing the imagery and the scenes. And then did many music videos, but never a feature film. And maybe that'll lead to another question. But
Well, I'm still curious about how you got into it, like how you created a national syndicated show if you didn't really have that like background. Like, how did that even come to be?
Okay, no, fair enough. I did a lot of performing when I was younger. And when I thought about going to New York, I realized, there were a lot of people better looking, better dancers, taller. If I had his height and his looks, I think I would have just gone to New York.
Yeah, how tall is your mom?
not tall. Like
No?
5'5". If he didn't look like me, I'd have questions. I'd have really serious questions. He does look like me, right?
Yes. We
Thank
got
you.
that. We
Thank
got
you.
that. Rest assured.
And so I've always been around theater, not really film though, and singing and performing. When I ended up going to law school. Coming out of law school, I wrote a legal political thriller, which I thought would be a great movie. I wrote it almost that it would play out like a movie, but it was never made into a movie. And then years later, after we had done the two television shows, you said, how did I get into that? Michigan had a film incentive program, a very generous one. And I thought, hey, how hard is it to make a television show? if I knew how hard it was. And
How did you pitch that to your wife?
You know what?
Good question.
That's what I
Because everybody
That's
would-
the real $1 million
It's a
question.
great question because people did come up to my wife and said, well, what happens if it doesn't work out? I mean, and I thought, number one, horrible question. Because if I was ever asking myself that question, I shouldn't be doing it, right? Don't go in assuming that it's not going to work out because it is a big investment. But I did do something. The house was paid off. I paid off the house. I said, you got the house. If this all goes belly up, you got the house. You can get rid of me, but you got the house. It was a nice enough house. I guess you figured that was a good deal.
That is a reassuring note.
But I think she realized, though, that I'm not a fool. I realized the kids were very talented, and I had a great team around me, and I realized that there was a sort of a need for it. And the original company that was going to be distributing it, at the last second, pulled out. And then that was an interesting dilemma. And then I started doing a lot of research into syndication, children's television syndication.
Are you just like cold calling at this point? Or are you using
At
some of
that
your
point,
your
at that
network
point,
from
no,
back in your
at that
performance
point,
art
I'm cold
days?
calling, and I'm looking up, and I realize there's 2 companies that do the syndication for television shows, for children's television programming. Called the first one. They said, we're all filled up. I said, ah. They said, but the other syndication company, they just lost one of their shows. They're looking for one. Called that up, and it was within a matter of days we were signed with that.
That's
company.
amazing.
And yeah, within the first 6 months, I thought were a little rough, the coverage. Within a year, we were in 90% of U.S. households in a meaningful way. And
So I've always been curious, like in a situation like that, like I don't watch a lot of reality TV, and I'm just like, the Kardashians did it, but like, how much of that time is your life actually on camera? Like, was that weird for you, Eli?
It was definitely like an interesting upbringing because of all the travel. Like we were all homeschooled, and so it'd be these big chunks where we're just all in studios writing music, and then pretty much just whenever you're working on the process, cameras are rolling. And
so that was for the second show.
Yeah, it was for the second show,
For
yeah.
the Steal the Show, and that was
Once
with
you
that-
refine the process a little bit.
Yeah, the first show really was a music variety show. We'd have, it was pretty crazy. You talk about cold calls, right? On that television show, and again, an unknown show at the time, right? Our first guest was David Archuleta.
What?
And
Wow.
he had just come off American Idol, and
Yeah.
I'd written a letter to, a promoter handed the letter to his dad, saying, oh yeah, they're making the show in Michigan, he's gonna be in Michigan, he did the show. And then they ended up having Miranda Cosgrove and stars, and then as I'd mentioned to you off camera before, even Kevin Costner.
Yeah,
we
that's
had on the show.
huge.
And so it was really quite an experience, and for them I think it was a very unique experience, as they were more musicians than actors.
I would say it's interesting though, because I feel like it trains you to get that like PR, like interviewer side. Because like growing up, like I feel like that's not something I was naturally like accustomed with. But as we were having more and more guests on, it's like okay, we got to ask them questions, like get to know them.
Became very comfortable with.
Oh my gosh, you should stick out. You should hang out with me for the rest of the weekend because I'm missing someone else. I'm not comfortable doing this by myself. Cole. But yeah, so okay, and then like you obviously had that music side.
Yeah,
but like
absolutely.
you're on camera, you're with your sisters. Did you ever like feel pressure to become something that you're not?
Not at all, because I feel like with the shows too, like it wasn't like we were playing any characters, we're just being ourselves. So we're making the music we like, just pretty much just having a good time being creative.
Cool.
And it was about, I mean, we never were going to do anything that they didn't want to do.
Sure,
It
right.
had to be
Right.
something they were passionate about, and just the same as I know we'll talk about Phoebe and Jolie, just being passionate about acting and performing, and so this provided a unique opportunity.
I would say too, for reality TV, it's like very calm, because it wasn't like, oh, we have to have a dramatic moment where we're like crying in the bathroom or something.
Oh,
like
well,
that.
he brings that up because there was a company that came to us, a much bigger company, that wanted to take the second show and go that direction. And I remember there was a meeting with many people, and they started talking about the reality aspect. I said, oh, so wait a minute, you're thinking, oh, it'd be great, yeah, they'll be in the studio, and Eli will get mad, and he'll lock himself in the bathroom, and they said, yeah, stuff like
Yeah,
that. I said,
like that
"Oh, God."
manufactured drama.
I said, meeting's over. I said, that's
Yeah.
not what we're looking to do. That just was never what we were looking to do. And that show really culminated with, I remember talking to one of the vice presidents at NBC, because NBC did have the rights to use it on whatever networks they wanted to use it on. And I asked them about how the daytime Emmy process worked. I had no idea. And I remember her saying to me, she goes, Matt, you have a wonderful little show, but just this for the really big production companies. And so it did get submitted for a couple of things. Didn't even think about it. And I get this text message out of the blue from a friend who I hadn't heard from in a couple of years saying, Matt, congratulations. And I said, what? And she said, are you kidding me? And I was like, I haven't heard from you in 2 years. I didn't even mean to be texting me. And she goes, you got nominated for a daytime Emmy.
You didn't even know.
I had no clue. I wouldn't have even known if she didn't call. I think we would have missed the Emmys.
Yeah.
Florence Henderson and Alex Trebek. And
I don't think anybody called us.
This is too many people to call.
So it was a really...
They expect you to find out, I guess. It's good friends, I guess. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I guess
So then talk to me a little bit. Okay, so you have that background. You're starting to obviously have success. You've got like your family around you. You're doing this amazing thing. How did that start to shift into the more narrative world?
So this was interesting. So whereas I said that the older three are really, they're great musicians, it wasn't as much about the acting. That's fair to say.
Yeah, I've never been into acting.
Phoebe and Jolie, again, they did have this very strong representation, and they're doing very serious work. They're serious actors. And I had been living with a story for years. I had a dear friend who passed away from cancer, and he and his wife had twins, and loved the kids very much. And the mom,
Childhood best friend.
Yeah, the young boy was Eli's best friend, and but the mom had substance abuse problems, and she was actually a loving mom and a great mom. And it was probably 8 years ago or so, right before Christmas, she took her life. And I remember saying to my wife that night that, hey, maybe we'd be adopting 2 kids. I said, I don't know who their family is. I knew there was a young sister. Paul, my friend Paul, he had a wonderful sister, but she wouldn't have been able to do that. And his parents certainly weren't capable. But then families started coming into town, and this is now 2 days before Christmas.
Wow.
And we're Jewish, but we love Christmas. And we had all these family members came into our house, and I called Caroline, my wife. I said, by the way, there's going to be 17 more people here at Christmas dinner, so good luck with that. And it ended up being the most beautiful, loving. I mean, you couldn't believe it if you were there. And an aunt and uncle ended up adopting them and raising them. Beautiful people, and it was just a beautiful story. And I mean, sure, they were going to have stuff to recover from.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tragedy, but out of that tragedy, it was handled in a positive way.
And so that would be a great Hallmark movie right there. But that wasn't my story to tell. But I was always haunted by the idea of, what if there were 2 siblings and there was no one there? There were no friends, there were no aunts, no uncles, no grandparents. What would happen in that situation? And so that got me thinking about an older sister and a much younger sister, and so it really takes place after the mom leaves. We see the older sister over about a 3-month period decline emotionally, physically, everything, just into a full breakdown, while she's desperately trying to care and nurture and love her younger sister, not letting the younger sister know at all that something's wrong, that something's really bad. And it was just a really powerful story, and a hard story, but something I felt that Jolie would be able to do, because the roles she had been up for before and during COVID and during before the strike, with these darker, more challenging roles. And it did impact her, and I'll tell you, for a few months after filming, it was hard for her to sort of shake that role of Clara. And Phoebe, again, she's a very strong actor, and she has a very great sense of self. And I knew that the only way the movie was going to work is if the acting was strong. It had to come down to the acting. And I told Phoebe, by the way, I said, Phoebe, the film will fail if the audience doesn't fall in love with you.
No pressure.
None whatsoever.
No pressure.
And she smiled. I said, no, I'm really serious.
No, we're going to lose the house. Wait, no, we got the house paid for.
And so that's how the story does have, the ending is positive. There is something that we can provide, some hope. And so I know Jolie was very reluctant to share with what she could share, but there was a movie years ago called It's a Wonderful, Life is beautiful.
That was a while ago.
Life is beautiful. Oh God, that's a heavy subject matter. I don't know if you've seen that. It was Benini, and it took place during the Holocaust. And
Yeah.
the father made the son believe it was a game because he didn't want his son to know that he was living in hell, and that you would win the game when the Americans came in with their tanks and liberated. And it was just a beautiful story. And in that situation, the father doesn't make it out, but the boy does. And there was a mini-series called Made with Margaret Qualley, where she was living in an emotionally abusive marriage with her child. And she would take one step forward and 10 steps back, a half step forward and 30 steps back. And I loved her character so much and what she went through. But ultimately at the end, there's reason for hope that she's going to be able to find a path forward. And that's what I hope we accomplished with this. And I know I went off on a tangent a little bit, but there was a lot of heavy lifting for this guy here because the soundtrack had to be what was in her mind and Clara's mind as she was going through this breakdown. So even those sweeter moments, the music is unrelenting, and that we don't really have a moment to breathe and feel like, oh, this is a nice moment here.
Well, yeah, I'm sure music carries a lot of the tone and weight, and also, having to probably bring it back up to a little bit more of an optimistic or lighter tone at times. Like, how did that challenge kind of translate for you?
It was interesting. I've never done a film score before, but I've always been like passionate with cinematic music. So it was interesting because for this movie, music plays for like 90% of the movie. There's like music throughout the whole thing. And it uses mostly synthesizers as well. I wanted it to be pretty avant-garde without distracting from the actors' performances. So a lot of it is very subconscious and like ethereal sounding. And for the movie, I started with the most dark parts of it and just had the most like emotional, uncomfortable music to start with, and then I can move backwards and forward to make it more hopeful towards the end and make it like kind of glidey and not inconspicuous at the beginning. Because
Sure.
like in the beginning too, there's definitely the music is definitely uncomfortable, but you can't really tell if it's uncomfortable. It's like something feels wrong, but it's like stuff still feels balanced and okay. But it lets you know that there's something going on in her mind that the younger sister doesn't know about.
He's pointing to his sister.
I just realized that if they don't play these right back to back, it's going to be...
I talk with lots of hand movements. So.
It's all right. It's all right. So then, did you guys shoot this during COVID or right after COVID?
So no, this was actually shot, we started October 10th of
2023.
2023, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And we shot for about 7 months.
We filmed it mostly in my condo.
It was filmed in the condo. It was, people, if I needed a restaurant, it was amazing. I'd call up people, they say, oh, do you need us to shut down early? Or can we give it to you on a day off? We can just give you the whole restaurant.
Great community you have there.
We had a great community in Ann Arbor and in Dexter, and that really made a huge difference. Unfortunately, there's beautiful woods for those not so beautiful scenes shot in the woods. That might say it's not, there's nothing bad that happens.
It's just
a dark. It's just sad.
Yeah,
Sure.
those sadder moments, right?
And I'm curious. Did the girls in real life have they seen this project?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
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 How did they feel about it? If you don't mind me asking.
But
I don't know.
So we had a screening
They got
of
their
it.
thumbs up.
We had a
Yeah,
screening of it in Ann Arbor.
Okay.
A private screening before we entered the festival route. In particular, Eli and I, we wanted to see what it looked and sounded like on a big screen.
Yeah.
That's the thing too, because like in movie theaters, they have the surround sound setups, and I've never mixed a movie in surround sound before, so I was really nervous
Yeah.
that there was going to be some translation issues or.
I get it,
anything
man,
like
for
that.
sure.
Yeah. And no, they enjoyed it. And I think, and there were some younger people in the theater. I talked to, when I found out there were going to be younger people, talked to the parents about the subject matter because it is dark. Again, ultimately, the movie, I think, has an uplifting ending. Couldn't get any word. But I was really fascinated with, and they did. They were very proud of it. I was fascinated with what people took away from the movie. I was actually shocked because when I was writing the movie, it was a story I had. I wasn't thinking that it had a social impact aspect until afterwards.
Well, the other part too is we'd be watching each scene over and over again, scrubbing stuff down. So when I was working on it, like I almost had no emotional attachment.
You become numb.
Yeah, you can completely numb. I had watched the movie and I have no idea if like people are gonna like it or not. Like I was actually scared to screen it because I was like, what if people like? What if this is actually not good?
Did you, Matt? Did you edit the movie?
So we had I had my longtime editor. Eli was involved in so this was another interesting thing because of him. I never in a million years would have thought that I would not be taking different moments from different takes. And doing the sound, on the first day on the set, he was insistent. He goes, "We're not doing any cuts." I said, hold on, let's go in the other room and talk. I mean, we should have talked about this maybe 2 weeks ago. No cuts. I mean, these aren't short scenes. But you know what? I think it ended up being, on a couple levels, actually amazing because the actors had that freedom of just being in the moment. They never had to worry that I was going to say cut. And in fact, they had the option to stop in the middle of the scene, right? And the beautiful thing was that we would have usually 2 or 3 cameras going. And so when it came to, and I had the shots the way I liked the shots. So from when it came time to edit, it was those scenes. There's nothing, you're not going to see any parts of a different scene in any.
So you just chose the best take out of what?
And they would eventually have a great
committed
take.
To that.
They'd have a great take, and then I'd say, okay, let's do one more, just in case
Yeah,
Eli's sound, just in case.
Because there's a boom in the shot?
Yeah, good. That was a struggle to make sure the boom doesn't get in the shot.
And because as somebody's watching the movie, they'll realize some of these scenes are several minutes. But I wanted to give, I really felt the only way the movie would work is if the acting was really great. It's about a story. Everything's told through the lens of Clara, the older sister. So there can't be anything in a scene that she wouldn't have naturally have seen and while she's doing her recollection of those moments. And from the first scene, we see she's writing in a journal, and she says, Dr. McAdams says this will help. So as long as you hear that first line, you realize this is a young woman dealing with some type of trauma, and she's writing about it. For me, it was a great way to be able to go into a transition, going back to her writing. But again, it didn't allow for us to know what any other characters in the film were talking about outside her presence. So for me, it was able to keep it incredibly simple. I'm really glad he did that because I think that, especially from the editing and now being a smaller film, a smaller budget film, that made the editing process really, really great. Now, fortunately, we had good takes. I mean, fortunately, the cameras were rolling, and fortunately, I liked the shots. Or a few times I go, oh man, I wish I was a little closer in. I wish I had this angle.
But it's cool because you could have 3 camera shots lined up, and then the audio would line up exactly the same, and you could just like go between cameras and.
Yeah, I could see where that becomes a little bit less jarring, at least for an editor to we have to try and match the tone because like she's gives slightly different performance here versus there.
Right.
But, I mean, I was editing a comedy, and like after that process, I'm like, I could never edit comedy because like I don't know if it's funny.
No, for real.
You know, I'm like I don't know if beats are hitting. I became numb to it.
Yes.
And it's like, so yeah, I could imagine like with that, you're always committed to a good take, and then you just kind of know like, I believed that this take worked the first time, therefore like there's still magic there, and it doesn't really matter if we cut a little delayed on this line because like it's the ebb and flows the whole way through, like
That's
it's just
right.
natural. That's
right.
kind of that's a unique aspect to the editing side that I'd never really considered.
And I know you had asked both Phoebe and Jolie about it. We would talk through the scenes. I really trusted their instincts. I didn't want it to seem forced. I didn't want something to seem like overly rehearsed. As you know, memorizing the lines. I mean, you should know your lines, but just memorizing the lines isn't going to make a good performance.
Yeah.
And fortunately, all the people we brought in, and I know they mentioned that they were friends, and fortunately we have some really talented friends. We've been in the business a long time, and I was able to reach out to people as I was writing the script. I could see them in those roles, and I saw every one of those characters, maybe except for a couple, but those actors that had to be really just those characters in the film. The woman who played the mom, I mean, when she was a child, she was Dorothy on Broadway for many years.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
That's incredible, yeah.
Being great on Broadway doesn't mean you're going to be great on film, and she I'll let the audience decide, but I thought she had to be Mom. When you see Mom,
Well,
I
I do want to interview your mom and your wife now, because I just, like, on a total separate note, just want to be like, teach me about your patience, teach me about rolling with the mantras of just, things are fine. Because I feel like she's the one missing element about this, who's probably all the glue together.
You're talking
I'm talking about your
mom.
actual wife and your actual mom,
Yeah.
like, who's
Okay,
like,
so my actual mom didn't play Mom in the movie.
no, I understand. That's what I'm like.
Yeah,
This is a family affair. We're missing
By the
someone
way,
here.
in fact, right, if I'm ever thanking anybody, if there's ever an award, if we win any award,
Yeah.
the first thing
Don't forget, don't forget.
Notes to say Dad, Mom's first.
Yeah, you can say it right here. There you go.
Because she really was involved in the
Yeah.
film in a big way. She actually was. And besides, like, okay, I'll put up with this, actually, poor Eli had to put up with me.
Like his therapist through the process.
Oh, gosh. That was the hardest thing ever. The TV shows were easy.
Yeah, well, and it's such a family affair, going back to the acting. Like, anyone else that you bring in, it makes sense if they're a family friend or someone, because you already have that close-knit sense. Like, I would feel like a complete imposter pretending like we're so close when you already have that built in. It just, it really does make a lot of sense to keep it that way.
Well, older sisters, Ariel and Zoey, who were part of the TV show, older sisters. Ariel, she was my assistant on the film, and she also played one of the roles. A very quirky teacher, needed her for one scene, and then Zoey, a really talented musician. So in the first scene, you see that Clara is in a band. So again, I think they might be thrown off a little bit. They might think, oh, it's about a young girl in a band. It's not.
Okay.
But you can tell that she's a very good singer, and I wanted the movie to have this really, and this could go really bad. It could go really south if it's not a good song. I needed a very cathartic song. I think it was after seeing Barbie, I was like, oh God, that song was so powerful and so cathartic. Not the one that the guy sang.
Is this one that you helped write?
No.
Is this an Eli song?
What's it? So in the movie, I had to have a very cathartic song, and I asked Zoey to write that.
Oh, okay.
The only song in the soundtrack is not mine. I mixed it though.
Oh, that's true.
That's
In the credits, there's a song that's Eli created.
That we syndicated.
Oh, really? Can I hear it? Can I hear you? Can I hear you
make
make it yours right now? I'm gonna put you on the spot.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie to you. This New Mexico air got my mouth dry.
Oh, that's to be seen.
I don't expect it to be good. I just want to embarrass you slightly.
Oh yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I would do it.
Fly me to the moon. Okay, I'll start off. Let me play among the stars. I don't know what this has to do with Santa Fe.
We're getting our vocals warmed up.
See what Santa Fe.
There's green chili and some red. It doesn't have to be good.
Exactly.
Just put you on the spot.
He actually has a killer voice. Those two, as I'll
Yeah.
play up, killer voices.
Should we bring him in?
I don't
Should
know
we
if
do it? Can we do a little off?
Are you guys gonna sing anything?
Can we get will you sing us out?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sing us out.
A group song? Country Roads?
Country roads.
All right, I'll spare you this time. All right. I'm just seeing how nervous I can make you on the spot.
Oh, absolutely.
You're like
Stonewall.
Yeah, not even like the synth sounds. You couldn't give me like a
Synth sounds?
You couldn't tell me what your score sounds like a cappella.
It's actually funny because one of the sounds layered with the synth is my voice, but it's stretched out. I use this software called Paul Stretch. It's my voice stretched out times 8,000.
Oh, wow.
Run through a vocoder. And it makes this like crazy pad. It doesn't even sound like a voice at the end. It was like a pure accident. But
Funky. Well, I look forward to listening to it, and I look forward to seeing it.
it's
Yeah,
one of the
that's
most
awesome.
tragic scenes. There's some crazy stuff happening, and then you hear my voice stretched out 8,000.
Before I forget, and then again with Zoey, she also did the hair and makeup because she had gone back to get her makeup license, her cosmetology license, and a few scenes unfortunately required some special effects makeup because of the nature of the film.
Well, get as much free work or slightly
It
paid
wasn't
work.
free. You know what?
Before they're all union, I just get it
Nothing
in.
in the film was free. In fact, everybody was well paid.
Amazing.
Not me. I got nothing.
Well, let's hope that after some film festivals and a little bit of the circuit that changes, and you guys are able to see this movie out in the streaming sphere. Or do you have any distribution lined up yet?
So we now have, which they don't even know. And I can't really talk about. We do have one option, but it's an option. I should probably just be
Nothing
quiet.
set in stone.
I have-
We got some options.
You know,
We'll leave it
and
there.
the great thing is we now have the team has evolved that's behind the project, and so I'm excited to see what all of those are. But yeah, let's hope for really good things, and I'm optimistic, and I just hope people have a chance to come see the movie. And I'd love feedback on the film. I really do. If people don't like it, that's okay too.
Cool. Do you guys have any like social media or anything you want to plug?
So
Absolutely.
yeah. So first of all, Jolie is the real Jolie Engelbert. It used to be JoJo Engelbert, but she's not called JoJo anymore because she's an adult.
She's
The real Jolie Engelbert. But all of her, like, if you Google JoJo Engelbert, there's a lot of articles about her. Jolie, not as many, but anyways, on Instagram, the real Jolie Engelbert. I got to create something for Phoebe soon. We're starting something with What Tomorrow Brings movie. I think that's what the handle is. I should know. Back in the day, Ariel, Zoey, and Eli had 3.5 million followers on what was called...
Doesn't hurt. Vine?
Facebook?
Facebook still exists, for the record.
It's what?
It exists, but
Facebook's still there.
It's so gone.
No offense, Mr. Zuckerberg, but the problem was that at a certain point, they were having other videos, they had 150 million views, and then on videos, and all of a sudden, overnight, you had to pay. I hope that didn't clip. I won't say. All of a sudden, you had to pay if you wanted to get the...
for like
seen.
pages
And
and, all the to verified and all that.
Are you kidding me? I'd go broke if I had to do that. And at first, though, at least you could pay to have it go to your followers. And then they stopped that. And I was like, okay, I'm out.
Yeah, organic reach on Facebook is like
I'm out.
horrendous.
So that's why you see.
Well, by the time this airs, I think this will all be cleared up, and we'll be on Breaking Indie, and we'll tag them because we'll know by then exactly what the tag is.
Yeah, and Jolie was banned on TikTok. I don't know what
I'm sure you could look below and find it at this point. But yeah.
And Eli, you're on.
Oh, yeah, I'm on it. Yeah, so if you want to catch my music, I'm Yeti Bear on Spotify. That's YETIBEAR. And then on Instagram, I'm Your Beloved Yeti.
Cool.
So,
Yeah, he's had some interesting collaborations. So
absolutely.
yeah.
All right, can we get a Yeti sound?
A Yeti sound.
Oh. What's the beginning of every Yeti Bear song? How does it go?
You gotta get by the mic though.
Come on.
Come on,
Phoebe, what do
come
you
on.
say?
You gotta get by the mic.
We got Eddie on the beat.
You gotta get it closer. You gotta
Come
stand
over.
between your dad and your brother. Let's get back in here.
So when she was really little, Eli had her.
I had her to the back.
Come over here.
All right,
That high
here,
anymore, though.
jump on in this. Let's do a
Oh,
farewell.
not my phone. I'm about to put the tag.
It
Here,
goes,
stand right in the middle. Stand right in the middle. You hop in over here too. Let's do it. We'll just do our little sign off. Why not? It's got the whole family, guys. All right. What does it sound like? What does the Yeti sound like?
we got Yeti on the beat.
There we go. That's
All right, let's see the whole family do it now.
We got Yeti on the beat?
Yeah. 1.
We got
Yeti on the beat. Oh, that
Amazing.
was rough. That was
We
rough.
got it. We
We
got
like
it.
take 90. That was just.
All right. We'll take 1. What are you talking about?
You guys embarrassed me.
Well, thank you guys. No, thank you the whole family for being here. I'm so excited. What Tomorrow Brings? That's the name of the film. We'll find out tomorrow when we bring
You
it.
want this kid to eat tomorrow. No, it looks
true.
sweet. It look like sad.
No, look hungrier.
Hungry.
Yeah, hungry.
Can I have some more, please? That's it. There we go. Nailed it. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for being here. Another episode of Breaking Indie. You know all the things, the likes, the subscribes, all that stuff. Find their links below. Are you looking into the camera?
That's what
You
I
can
was.
just-
My hair was getting in the way of you.
I know. It looks good. Hold on. Come back in.
He's got a lot of hair.
Squish it. There it
I
is.
want that.
There it is. Yeah. All right. All right, guys. Have a good whatever time of day it is, and thank you and congratulations
Yeah, put your
again, guys. Have
hands
fun
behind
tonight.
Thank you.
And cut.
This podcast is brought to you by brwdigital.com, a video production company based in Santa Fe, servicing the needs of businesses and content creators worldwide. brwdigital.com.